Let's start with that one, about your feelings about being a Philadelphia Eagle now and for the foreseeable future.
I have no problem. I want to be here. It's as simple as that. I love where I'm at. As simple as that. Next question.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, y'all. Of course, it's Matt Rogers on the Honorable Mention podcast. Thank you so much for listening. For those who are watching, the standings on the bottom of your screen reflect the standings before tonight's NBA action. Today, we have sports and culture journalist extraordinaire OJ Spivey as our guest from the Philadelphia Tribune. OJ, how's it going, sir?
I'm doing great, Matt. Busy week for me, covering both Sixers games for this weekend rather. So a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We got a lot of ground to cover, but as usual, we'll get to it. Let's start with the Eagles. Their superstar receiver, and I didn't slip of the tongue. There was no slip of the tongue there that he is a superstar wide receiver who's been talked about all kinds of ways. Went on to sports radio WIP and gave him an earful this week. When you finally sat down yourself, instead of seeing a quick a summation of someone else saying what he said instead, but when you actually took a few minutes to hear it, what were your initial reactions to him finally kind of sounding off in that respect?
Well, first thing is, I wish he hadn't gone on that station. I wish his people could have called me. I could have did the whole story, by the way. Right. Shout out to Black media. But anyhow, I thought it was hilarious. I thought, not laughing at him, but just the whole
absurdity of it.
Yeah, the whole absurdity and the discord towards the station and the host and everything. And I thought he was right. I mean, players aren't always right. I'll concede to that. But I thought he did a great job getting his point across, especially letting the fans know that he wants to be here. And it's really terrible because this would not have come up. This wouldn't even be an issue if some knucklehead talk show host just brought up, okay, what are we going to do today in the production room? Okay, I'll bring up, let's trade AJ Brown, just see how it sticks. And I posted this weekend. I said, this is the problem with sports talk radio, and I don't have a desire to really do it. Of course, I'll come on, with friends like you.
Thank you.
These things, of course, because it's a different dynamic. But just to be a talk show host, I have no desire to do it because it just runs off a discourse for engagement. And basically what I posted was, okay, you throw something against the wall, even if it doesn't stick, there's going to be some residue because people are gullible enough to go for the residue. So there's going to be some stains on there. Even if you just you throw the pasta against the wall, you're going to have the oily residue, or
that's right. And the retraction never runs as far as the initial story that was a complete lie.
And if you say it enough, people are going to start to believe it. And they say, oh yeah, are they really going to trade AJ Brown? And what are the Eagles thinking? And you put in all these frivolous...
The math never mathed though.
Right.
I thought these were the analysts though.
Yeah, you put in these frivolous and all these preposterous scenarios and everything, and it just it becomes like a blob. It becomes like a virus, and that's pretty much what it is, and it's ridiculous. And the athletes shouldn't have to go through that. These guys have families. They have people that they answer to and everything, and it's just horrible just for content. And I get it. That's how talk shows stay in business. That's how they get people to listen. That's how they get people to call, engage, even if they're mad at them, even if they cuss them out. Oh yeah, we got engagement. Our show is great because people are listening. Who cares if we get cussed out? That's really what they're saying behind the scenes. I mean, some of those guys get really sensitive and become a bitch ass or a punk ass or whatever. But they really do. And then, the worst thing about it is they'll throw stones and then they want to hide their hands. Oh yeah, we never said that. Or, we don't run guys out of town. We don't perpetuate this. We don't. It's all bullshit, man. But I'm glad AJ Brown spoke his piece, so everybody can finally move on. And I even put the stats out with AJ Brown these past 2 years in case anybody has the audacity to even bring it up again. This his 2 years in Philadelphia, 194 receptions, 2,952 yards, receiving yards, 18 touchdowns. And that all equates to 15.4 yards per catch. And that's not to mention his record-setting season of receiving yards for a wide receiver, and his receptions and everything. And he's only 26 years old.
He very well might be the best player on the team, folks. He might be the best football player wearing the jersey. How's the team better when he's not on the team?
Right. He's only turning 27 by the start of the next season. He's in his
trade away your best player and you take that kind of cap hit. How does that make the team better?
Well, yeah, that's not even. They don't even mention that part. I mean, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Seriously.
Or a preposterous one. I mean, they don't even mention the cap fact. Like, you can just magically get rid of the cap hit. And when you have other guys on a team who you probably need to get rid of despite the high cap hit. So it's just all ridiculous to me.
There's a cascading effect. You lose more than just AJ Brown because of the cap casualty and the dead cap. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And yeah, we've dignified it too much, but I mean, it just has to be said. I mean, that it's just a great example of kind of sometimes during the dead season, people just reaching for content, and you don't have to make up stuff. You can talk about things, but then you hear people saying "I hear." And so that magic "I hear" is dangerous, because then you're leaving the realm of okay, here's what I would do if I was in the position. I know they won't do it, but this is what we do. Plenty of that on this show, OJ, when you and I talk, but we don't say "I hear" that X is going to happen when it's just complete malarkey.
Yeah, and if you're gonna do those things, just be honest with the people to say, oh, yeah, we're just purely speculating here. We don't have this, we don't have that. And mind you, none of these mofos on these talk shows are ever in a locker room. They're barely at training camp unless they have a live remote. They can't be at practice because they're not beat writers. So none of these guys have an inside track. They basically listen to people who they like. Who fit their narrative, people who may report who fit their narrative, and they just run with it. So that's why I always caution people who listen to these shows. I don't even know why a lot of people do it, but I caution people with that. I mean, this is really a classic case of consider the source. Because basically there are no sources.
Yes, consider the. It's a great lesson for the day, OJ. The salary cap jumped over 255 million for next season. Do you think that changes Howie Roseman's calculation on how much he's willing to pay somebody like a DeAndre Swift, or if that changes his calculation on trying to bring back Fletcher Cox?
Listen, I think more so this works out for maybe Haason Reddick. That gives him a little bit more leverage, so to speak. So I think that gives them a little more leeway to try to work something out. And I think it's critical. I mean, people are saying here's another narrative, Matt. People are saying, oh yeah, he's 30, and you look at the top 5 edge rushers. I wrote it down somewhere, but Khalil Mack is 33.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joey Bosa is about 29 or 30 or something like that. And then you have Myles Garrett, I think is 29 or 30. So, I mean, Haason Reddick
I would
is
pay
around the
Myles
same.
Garrett for sure.
Yeah, so of course, but they're all around the same age, so you can't use that old narrative. And you have another guy who's in his prime. We're not talking about a 30-year-old or post 30-year-old James Bradbury who's clearly lost a step. That hasn't happened with Haason Reddick. I mean, can you imagine the defensive line without Haason Reddick next year? I mean, who are you going to?
I started thinking about that, and it's not fun.
No, it's not pretty. Because I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have to go out and get another edge rusher anyway. You're going to have to pay, unless you're going to draft one. But of course, the Eagles
And then that comes with trouble too. You're going to draft somebody and throw them into the fire of a 17-game NFL season,
right? And that's something the Eagles normally don't do with their defensive ends, that they rotate and all that stuff. So not keeping someone like Haason Reddick happy, I think that's going to cause more problems. But just going back to your original point about the salary cap, thankfully, Howie Roseman is, one of the best ever at managing the salary cap, because it goes back to, you get a raise, so to speak, or you get more money to work with, you get a bigger budget. But if you're not good at budgeting that money, you're going to be in the same boat as you always are. So it's going to work well for some teams and not work well for others, because you just have some organizations who are just not well to do as far as working the cap or managing the cap.
I'll be really interesting, and you bring up that point. I would be interested to see the Commanders have almost $100 million in cap that they can use. We'll see how they use it. They could be big players in this, and they could be driving up the price of a lot of guys in the bidding wars. Yeah,
and you're going to see a whole lot come this free agent, just because of the salary cap is concerned. And you got to look out for what they say, not fall for the banana and tailpipe, because you're going to hear a lot of back and forth from the team side, the agent side. And here's another trap that fans should not, and just like an annual reminder, that fans should not fall into. You're going to hear all kind of reports from, your Shefties of the world, your rap sheets, all those. Oh yeah, this person is offering this. This team is offering this. This player wants that, and then you just have to find what the medium is in between, what the real numbers are, what they're really asking for, and also the trap that a lot of fans just revert to what management thinks or what management is putting out there, as far as what the player wants, what the player's worth, all those things. So you always got to be careful of those. It's amazing. Reports.
Shannon always talks about it. It's been amazing how billionaires have been so successful in convincing the common folk that they have more in common with the billionaires than the millionaires.
Amazing. You always, the fan is conditioned to think like ownership, and it's really fascinating when you think about it. And it's like they're in the negotiating room. That's why that's why I'm retired from fantasy football, because people just take that too seriously, like they're really in the war room, and they're the de facto GM and everything, and they take it too seriously, and they take it into real life. And I'm like, you know what? I wasn't very good at it anyway, but I said, you know what? I'm out. I can't.
That's what's going on with AJ Brown, because you don't have to deal with those you just deal with the fallout of maybe AJ Brown just goes off for the rest of the season, and you just kind of have egg on your face. You don't have, the fact that you get strapped. I mean, they did in recent memory. They ate the dead cap to get rid of Carson Wentz, but AJ Brown is nothing like that. Those situations are nothing alike.
No, not at all. And being compared to T.O. and which he spoke about as well. But again,
it's insulting.
The narratives just get really, really outlandish.
It's insulting. is like he can't be disappointed and pissed off that his team is underperforming. Like he's not channeling the spirit of a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans when he was sitting on the field with his helmet off, like bewildered after they lose the Arizona Cardinals game. Though he's having the same reaction that we all had, he's the bad guy. He has to take the rap for being a bad team guy when he's just disappointed in the way every single damn person who cares about the Eagles was last season.
Yeah, exactly. But it just can't be the player. But it's so much that goes on a sideline. It's organized chaos, really.
Mm-hmm.
What goes on the sidelines? Everybody's heated. Everybody's intense. The adrenaline is just unbelievable. And you what the average fan has to think about is just think back to when you were playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's little league, whether it's high school. Listen, whether you're playing a 40 and over league at the YMCA, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Things gonna get heated. You get
Mm-hmm.
somebody elbow,
Mm-hmm.
you cut somebody on a
Mm-hmm.
sweet play, or
Mm-hmm.
gets a little too physical in your company flag football game. You're gonna think you're gonna think you're the best receiver in the company's flag football league. All those things. I've had guys tell me flag football. I played quarterback with flag football.
Mm-hmm.
I had guys tell I remember throwing a touchdown pass. And one of my receivers came to me, you know what? That was a good pass. But OJ, I was open. Listen, I had
it's a mess. People get pissed on the sideline.
Yeah, I had a guy tell me, he said, I don't care if I'm triple team. Throw me the damn ball. Like he's showing.
You want guys like that on your team.
Though. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You laugh it off. Like, I got you.
But they're serious.
But they better catch
It's important that you laugh it off.
Yeah,
that you laugh them off, but they're serious. Those guys are serious when they tell you.
But you better catch it at the
they
same
believe
time,
it. Too. They believe it. They believe if it's triple covered,
because they don't catch it. I'm just gonna have my hands up and not say anything.
Yes.
I'm gonna do the ice cube.
Yep. The Eagles have potentially, considering the fact that they got in a bidding war with CJ Gardner-Johnson, was clearly a playmaker, big time playmaker for around 6 million, 8 million last year, ended up losing him to the Lions. Kevin Byard the Eagles will save 13 million if they get rid of him. I'm assuming that they do. Do they go after someone like Antoine Winfield, or do they play it conservative and bargain basement shopping on the safety again?
I mean, it's tough. It's when are they going to draft a blue chip safety or a safety that can play? I understand the Kevin Byard thing didn't work out, but if you're going to bring another Antoine Winfield, who I believe is post 30 also,
he's getting up there.
Yeah, so he's not a spring chicken either. So you're in the same boat. So if he doesn't work out, then what are you going to do? You're going to be in the same boat year after year after year. That's the one thing I don't like as far as how the Eagles do business sometimes, where they can just plug and play, just what they did with linebacker, what they do with safety. And again,
Antoine Winfield is 25. I'm sorry. I want to.
Oh, he's 25.
Double check that.
That's my mistake.
Yeah.
So if you get somebody like him, he's going to cost you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Especially this year.
Yeah, he's definitely going to cost you for a 25-year-old safety. It's probably something that the Eagles would do, but what are they going to sign him to? It has to be a long-term commitment, whether he works out or not. But I don't know if it's something that they're capable of doing, but with every other contract that they have to worry about, that's going to be a tough position to fill going forward. Because again, you have to worry about Reddick. You have to extend Landon Dickerson. You have to extend Devontae Smith. And there might be a couple others that probably not thinking of, but those are the top 3 priorities, if you ask me, as far as, what's the money going to be against the cap going forward.
Absolutely. I mean, Devontae Smith is first in line. You got to get him done.
Yeah,
do him right.
Or maybe even Landon, because I mean he's a perennial Pro Bowler right now.
Yeah, but I feel like, if you make me choose, cut my left hand off, my right hand off on this one, I feel more confident that we can go and find another Landon. I don't know, the Eagles as a franchise, folks, we gotta kind of, get a reality check a little bit about how starved for good wide receivers we've been too. We had those couple years with
we've been reminded these last couple of days as far as AJ Brown. I mean, there was a time where people were begging Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz to give Travis Fulgham more targets.
Exactly. Who, by the way, like, I know who you're talking about, but like, where is he? This is
exactly. And hoping, praying for Jalen Reagor to catch a football in the National
Nelson
Football.
Aguilar. I mean, Greg Ward being the dependable guy.
Yeah, the most dependable guy, your third down, move the chains threat.
Yes.
So
we should not be, a team with our record of wide receiver. I mean, Kevin Curtis days. Kevin Curtis was fine.
This has to be your core. Jalen Hurts is already signed. AJ Brown, who's already signed, and Devontae Smith. That has to be your core on offense. It has to be.
You put that C on his chest last season. You put that C on his chest. You don't sign him. That you're doing business. You're not just doing business with the players currently on your team. You're doing business with the players who you are going to try to go and recruit next season.
Exactly. So, and
pay that man.
It starts there. That's your core. And they're all young. They're all under 27 years old right now. So why not? But you throw Landon in there. Since he was a second round pick, he may not command as much, but we'll see.
And you brought up the cost. If the Buccaneers put the franchise tag on him, he'll get 17.1 million. Anton Winfield, he gets 17.1 million next year. In that neighborhood, that's the kind of check he's looking for. So
right, and it's going to cost. And you see, they didn't even want to pay all that much for CJ Gardner-Johnson. So I don't know if they're even going to, go like a 17 mil for a safety, because again, it's a position that they really don't value all that much.
No, absolutely. We'll be right back, folks, to talk about the Sixers after a quick commercial break.
Them threes feel good, man, when you get to take your time and knock it down. And honestly, it kind of got me going. The crazy part, what really got me going, was the pass to Tobias, then I got it back, the pass to Ricky, crazy pass. He shot the air ball, and then I got it, shot the leg. As crazy as it sounds, that got me going. And they didn't count it. I was kind of hot about it.
All right, we're back to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers winners of 4 of their last 10, which is an uptick. Things are looking a little rough, taking a couple rough losses, gritty losses, but still losses nonetheless. There are a handful of games up on the 7th seed and 8th seed, Heat and Magic, to keep them out of the play-in. Do you think that they end up at the end of the day, though, slipping into that play-in even once Embiid gets back?
I sure hope not, man, because I don't want them to have to be forced to do those extra games. It looks like that they were on an inside track to get one of those spots, but I think the more as they play, and with them just beating Cleveland on Friday night, it's so funny because Cleveland was, they came in as a number 2 seed in the East. But for some reason, the Sixers match up well with Cleveland. I thought they were going to get blown out because, Cavaliers are just so much bigger than them with Allen and Mobley and those guys. But they were able to weather the storm and beat Cleveland. So I just think the more as they play together, as they're getting healthy, despite Embiid, despite Robert Covington, who are still out, I think they can tread water enough to where they can stay around the fourth or fifth seed. It's probably going to be tough to leapfrog the Knicks at this point. But I think if they stay at the 5 seed, I think they can stay at the 5 seed pretty much, because as crazy as it is, there's still 10 games over 500. You almost have to like double check, look at the schedule, because they had such a bad 10-game stretch. Because I think they had lost maybe like 3 of their last 10 or 4 of their last 10 or something like that. But as long as Maxi's healthy, you have Buddy Hield, and seeing him up close, actually, I'm pretty impressed with the contributions that they've been getting from Campaign. He's been a pleasant surprise to me.
He's a spark plug.
Yeah, he's a spark plug off the bench and everything now. And, Melton came back the other night. So we're trying to see how it goes. They were playing better defense. I think their offense still leaves a lot to be desired because they're still trying to figure out each other. But I think they can kind of hold on to the 5th seed and stay out of the play-in.
That would be great. We're obviously taping this episode again ahead of the Bucks Sixers, which you will be at. What are you thinking about that one and seeing Doc back at the Wells Fargo Center?
You know what? I didn't even get a chance to think about the Doc Rivers aspect. So I know he's going to get one big Philly cheer as soon as he walks out. And I'm going to make sure I'm in the press area when that happens. So I might have to get that on video. So,
yes,
listen,
do. That's great content.
Listen, all 20,000 Sixers fans might be in their seats for that one. I think all fans are going to be there early, so they won't miss it. So that's going to be a sight to see. Actually, that alone is probably worth the price of admission, and we're going down, getting through the crazy I-95 traffic now. That's probably going to be just worth the traffic nightmare and everything. So I'm not going to miss that for the world.
But and this gritty, this Sixers team is gritty. They'll work it. I think the Bucks are going to beat them, but I think that the Sixers are going to make it worth watching.
Yeah, I think so. The Bucks, they're playing. Well, they played Friday night, so they were flying. They probably flew into Philly on Saturday, so you might want to factor that in. It's not a back-to-back, but that may work into the Sixers' favor. It's an early game. It's a matinee game, so we'll see what happens. They do have to play better offensively. They have to, make shots. You never know with Giannis. The guy they probably just really have to stop is Dame Lillard, because, it's always Dame time. So
it is.
But the Bucks, I think they look better the other night. I just think it's going to be a toss-up, but hopefully it just be a fun game. And again, the Doc Rivers aspect, that's just going to be fun in of itself.
It is. How do you think they match up if Embiid gets back? How do you think they match up in the playoffs? Is that a 7-game series in your mind?
Yeah, I think so, because Embiid is that. Listen, Embiid was on track again to be the first center in over 50 years to damn near 60 years that averaged 35 points a game. He would have been well on his way to a second MVP, third straight scoring title, all those things. So, I'm looking at the games that they're losing. I'm like, man, if only Embiid wasn't here, would be it. You're thinking about it from an opponent standpoint. It changes everything you have to do defensively and maybe even offensively, just because of his presence. Because there's not a player in the NBA that can guard Joel Embiid one-on-one. He does not currently exist. He probably doesn't even exist in college.
Well, I mean, really, Joel Embiid's the only person who could stop. It's his shot being off on a given night in bad shot selection.
And it's rarely off. It's rarely off, unless you could force him to shoot threes all night. But you know, he hits those with, you know, good occasion. But
and he's become patient and started getting the passes off to people too.
Right. That was
not,
scary.
Not,
that was
not
scary
dribbling
thing.
into double teams.
That was the scary thing about him this year. Between Nick Nurse and the new coaching staff, he was able to pass out of the double team. He was able to, you know, wait for it, know what to do with the ball, not being careless with the ball, not turn it over as much, I believe. But, you know, just to see that come back, that's going to give teams a whole lot of problems because, you know, I don't think any team in the East, maybe short of Boston, wants to see the Sixers in
correct
in full roster with Embiid in the middle.
Correct. You brought up the Celtics. They're far and away. They got the best record in the NBA, a 786 win percentage, winning 44 out of 56 games so far. Are they the best team in basketball, or is that still the Nuggets?
I want to say it. Everything looks good on paper for them. Some nights they look unbeatable, unstoppable. Other nights it's like, you know, they really got the best record, you know. So, you know, you have Tatum. You know what Tatum does. You know what Jaylen Brown does, even though some nights he can be inconsistent. And then, you know, you have, I think, that X factor, which is Drew Holiday, who kind of keeps everything. He's that veteran presence, even though Tatum and Brown are, you know, should be considered veterans because he's been in the league for quite a while now. But Drew Holiday has that championship pedigree. He has that championship presence, and he's the glue that can keep everything together when things don't go right. But I mean, they have a fantastic record, as you mentioned. It's still kind of like a show me to me. I don't think it's a slam dunk that they as great as they look. I still don't think it's a slam dunk that they come out of the East.
You know, I've been thinking about it, and this is a big year for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's really crunch time. If we go through another one of these seasons where the Celtics, you know, again should be in the contention, you know, at a certain point here, Jason Tatum's going to start getting talked about and looked at as one of those guys who can't get over the hump. That's because he gets all of the good accolades and plays really well, but you know, he's in that position where KD started getting that kind of criticism. LeBron starts getting those kind of criticism. And so he's at that age, and that team is really good. It's been good for a while now. And if he doesn't, especially like you said, if he doesn't come out of the East, they're going to have a hell of a summer, and not in a good way.
Yeah, it's going to be one hell of a summer, and it's probably going to be definitely one hell of a summer up there in Boston if they don't at least make it back to the finals this year, because they're at the point now where there's really no more excuses. So,
right.
You know, they didn't make it a couple years ago, or was it last year? Or when did they?
Last
thing. But yeah. I have mixed up. They've been to the finals before, right? But you know, it's tough to get back, and all eyes on them. You know, they made the big move, getting rid of Marcus Smart, bringing Porzingis in, also Drew Holiday. So they see this as their missing pieces. So it's
they
really
lost in the ECF last year, and then they lost in the finals the year before. They lost in the Eastern Conference first round the year before that. Lost the Eastern Conference Finals the year before that.
Right.
Lost in the Eastern Conference semifinals the year before that. Lost in the Eastern Conference Finals the year before that. I mean, those folks that's a lot of close misses there.
Yeah, a lot of falling short there. So, Yeah, really, they don't have any excuses that they can lean on right now.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies.
At this point, I've been a 3-time All-Star. I've led the league in hits a couple of times. I've led the league in stolen bases. I've led the league in all these different things that I feel like I've proven that I'm here and I can play. I was an All-Star last year. I've done that. I want to win now.
All right, we're back to round it out, talking about the Philadelphia baseball team. Phillies largely stood pat after not being able to lure Yoshinibo Yamamoto. I'm trying to make sure I got that right. After they weren't able to lure him in, they just grabbed Whit Merrifield, who's a utility player who they can play, probably at least 2-3 days a week at different positions. Do you agree with that strategy now that they're so far over the luxury cap to kind of just say, hey guys, we got enough guys. Now we need you guys to unlock a better version of yourselves?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely their thinking. They're young guys. Number one, Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott. They have to deliver as young guys. They have to be Stott has been a little more consistent, but
Right.
Bohm has to put it together for
Yes.
the entire season. And even ahead of those guys, this all falls on Trey Turner.
Yeah.
He has to be that guy. He has to be that $300 million dude. The Phillies are going to go as far as Trey Turner goes. This is even, beyond Bryce. Bryce Harper is one thing, but we never have to worry about him.
What you're going to get from Bryce Harper. It's about the other guys.
Yeah, he's going to bring it, every single night, whether he's hurt or not. He's going to bring it. But it has to be Trey Turner. He has to be the cog in that lineup to where he has to get on base. He has to hit home runs. He has to be Mr. Everything for the Phillies to go. And, some people are looking for them, say, hey, why not win the division? I'm not fixated on that as much, but they have to have no question about going to the playoffs this year. They want to at least run away with a wild card, or at least kind of give the Braves a run for their money for the Eastern Division, maybe even the Mets too. But that, for me, that all starts with Trey Turner, then Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott. The daycare has to deliver now. They're seasoned vets. So
yeah,
that's where it is for me. A lot of people are putting a lot of pressure on Rojas this year, where this is really his first full season as a Philly. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be all right.
Yes.
It takes a while for some guys to hit, man. I mean, I still believe that's the hardest thing to do in sports, hit a round ball with a round bat, and you try to square it. I've done it. I've tried it. I've coached it. So it's still one of the hardest things to do, whether you're an adolescent or an adult. So I think Rojas will be okay, but my biggest question mark, it just has to be Trey Turner. He just has to bring it for 150 games.
What Rojas brings on the defensive end, I mean, obviously, I got to stand up for him a little bit. Not you, but
Absolutely.
When I hear people talk about Rojas, it's as if the fact that he's potentially the best defensive outfielder in baseball, as if that doesn't mean anything. That's half of the game. I mean, the guy makes, Sports Center top 10 plays look routine. And so, if he can even give you C+ production at the plate, you're getting an all-star. We really don't need him to be that good at the plate.
Can he bat a higher average than Kyle Schwarber? Maybe that's what we need.
Right. He needs to bunt 1 out of 3 times a day. He needs to hit everything on the ground and just try to beat it out.
Yeah,
he's one of the fastest guys.
Yeah, he'll be fine, because once he gets to first base, he's in scoring position, literally. And like you said, he can play the outfield with his eyes closed. And I go back to, I might even said this before, but forgive me. But I remember the great Torrey Hunter, who was a longtime perennial Gold Glover in center field. He always said, if you're not getting any hits at the plate, take them away in the field.
And Rojas does that.
Yep. So there you go.
And with Marsh and with Merrifield, Castellanos has now become a pretty good defensive outfielder, makes really good plays out there. It's important to have it. I mean, there were periods last year in the outfield. We talked about Schwarber being a butcher out in left field. It matters. It matters. I mean, he was horrible. There were times where we lost games because of the defensive end. So people get really tied up in thinking about, because people love, the long ball and seeing people, hit for the cycle and all that. But I like to see Rojas stealing people's hits away. I mean,
another
I don't
thing,
want to overlook that.
Another thing, Matt, which is just hilarious to me, and I thought about it, like I said, and I just had to post it. And Phillies fans are unique in this aspect, that every last Phillies fan believes that they can be the manager. And it's equally scary and hilarious at the same time, because nobody will break down a baseball play or an at bat more than a Phillies fan. Whether you take pitches or, oh yeah, why'd you leave him in there? First and second, 2 outs, bottom of the 7th, and the score is 10-2, and you're on the downside of 10-2, and you want some guy who's got a bunt, or you want Bryce Harper to bunt with second and third, no outs. Because he's in a slump. You want him to bunt there. Well, that's what the opposition wants Bryce Harper to do. They want to keep his ass in the ballpark. So you're doing them a favor.
He can break out a hit slump at any moment. You don't. Yeah. Yep. And they always introduce those ideas like, of course you do that. Of course you send Bryce to bunt.
What the scouting. You know what the scouting report was for Henry Aaron? This is something that the Dodgers had in his heyday. His scouting report was this: make sure nobody's on when he hits it out.
Oh, wow.
That was the scout. That's how you pitch him. That's simple. But yeah, you want Bryce Harper to butt if you're the opposition.
Yes, of course. So you think the Phils will get any closer to winning the NL East this year than they lost it by 14 games last year? They get closer?
Yeah, that's significant. I'd like to think so, but I mean, with this extra wild card and everything, it really doesn't matter. The last 2 seasons have told us it doesn't matter. I know the baseball purists, they hate it. They hate the wild card. They hate that,
that we own the Braves in the playoffs.
Right. That too, yeah, because they want to see the best teams in the playoffs. But and I knew even before that series started that the Phillies would beat them because I thought they had, because the Braves are a free swinging team, and that makes you look unbeatable in a regular season. But the playoffs are different, just like in the NBA where the court is shrunk to a half court. The diamond shrinks, the fences get longer in the playoffs. They go back, a few feet. So when your
pitching gets better,
right?
It's better against somebody's fifth arm, and you're free swinging. You got a 3-0 count.
You don't get to see the fifth arm in the playoffs,
right?
So you're
going
to
see Wheels and Nola.
Yeah, you're going to see Wheels and Nola, in the 7-game series. You're going to see them at least twice. So you're not going to get to, your de facto fifth starter. And then if you're a free swinging team like the Braves and you have that good pitching, you can easily make more adjustments as a pitcher because all they know is just swinging for the fences. So.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if it really matters if they win.
Yeah, I would like to think it's closer, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
winning the division by 14 games. That's a kind of, it defies logic that you would and then I felt the same way. Once we saw Atlanta, I'm like, I think we got their number.
Well, in the old days, if you win your division by 14 games, the race was basically over by Labor Day.
Yep.
So that's a gap. It's hard to make up 14 games in in 1 month. So before we even had the wild card, pre-94 strike, even with like the first wild card, if you're up 14 games by Labor Day, the race is over.
Yep.
So that's the reason why you have the wild card, because you can't have that.
All those teams giving up.
Yeah, you can't have that hollow month, that hollow last month of the season. You got to have as many teams in the race as possible, because it's just good for everyone. Of course, first things first is the revenue. So.
Well, the Diamondbacks made the World Series, and then the year before that, Phillies made the World Series, and so it's not the worst thing that the wild card is there.
Yeah, everybody hates the wild card unless your team is the wild card.
Correct. OJ, always great breaking all this down with you. What should the people look up and listen and read that you got out right now?
Well, so deep into the Sixers season, so look out for those stories as well. I'm also a culture writer, so you'll see some things this week on Black History. So a lot to look forward to, and NFL free agency and the draft is right around the corner, so look out for some of those things too. I'll probably keep an eye on maybe some of the local players that may be coming out in the NFL draft too, and do some content with them as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Please subscribe wherever you get or may get your podcast. Share with your friends who have similar interests. Go follow OJ Spivey, the journalist, over on Facebook, and it's OJ Philly over on the other social media networks. I think he's grabbed all those up. His trademark it, OJ Philly.
Yes, sir. Thankfully.
Take care, y'all. See you soon.
I'm the person that you need on the team, because I'm willing to hold people accountable, make people around me better. But nobody sees that. All you see is the little flare-ups and stuff like that. And I can honestly say, and you see the flare-ups because nobody in that building works harder. Nobody in that building prepares harder than me, more than me. I can stand on that and say that. And that's why you see the passion. That's why you see me react the way I act.